Syrup just playing the matchup super well and showing just what Steve can do at every single aspect and every single layer of the game and overwhelming the mental stack of someone who is very strong. But we've got to get into the next match, the other side of winners semifinals. It's going to be a New York battle between PkChris and Mr. E.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one because this is truly New York City versus Long Island here at its finest. I think both players really kind of represent their region, or their sub-region, I should say, of New York. Got to talk about PkChris's progression, man. I mean, Jackal, taking down Jackal and winners, that's a big one. But got to talk about Mr. E, too. I mean, Mr. E was the first loss that we had on stream, and you could see the bonk earlier in the day. But definitely making the run, man. Only dropped one game after that. But what a head-to-head.
Damn, times
that
2.
That is 107.
That's a lot of sets.
107 sets played.
Quick math.
I failed my trigonometry regions because I have not used trigonometry since those trigonometry regions. That is the only math I will ever do ever again. Anyway, Mount Neva, this is your technical home, right? You're technically
technical
home.
You're kind of the New York rep on the mic here.
Say something only a New Yorker would say.
Don't make it corny though.
I can't say it has a curse word in it.
Oh, all right.
So,
I know you were gonna say.
Forget about it.
I know you were gonna say.
I was not gonna say forget about it, but
anyway, on paper, between Chris and E, who do you have?
Mr. E.
Why?
Literally better player. Simply all it is.
Boom.
Mr. E is a more fundamentally based player. He has way more of those fundamentals ingrained in a character like Lucina of all people. And PkChris, sometimes when his back is against the wall, he does get a tiny bit desperate, and it does become a downfall of him more oftentimes than not. But will this be a 3-0? Absolutely not. I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I definitely think like on the matchup side, Mr. E definitely has this in his favor, right? Lucina doing very well against the PK boys, doing the sorties do really well into Ness in general. But I also think that we saw, like you mentioned earlier, the first match of the day, something that Mr. E really struggles with is that sometimes he gets stubborn and playing in his ways. The thing PkChris does really well is he is a very advantage forward player. He presses buttons a lot, and if someone like Mr. E can get kind of overwhelmed by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think so far so good from both players at this point too. FD has been a very popular pick, and as we learned from Reggie in the beginning of the day, FD is Mr. E's favorite stage. And honestly, we really just haven't seen the platforms. I have to say though, both of these players have been. You got it,
dude. Eric,
anyway,
please.
Ubel, I'm gonna pass it to you for a really big analysis breakdown in a second of that interaction. But I do have to say, both of these players have been playing these specific characters for a long time. Go ahead, Ubel. Break that down for me.
Break it down.
It's the block of your career, a moment of your career. Evo moment 39.
Dude missed, bro. What do you want me to say?
Thank you, Ubel.
Yeah. All right, Mom, go ahead.
I mean, it's still very explosive at the end of the day. Yes, like we missed. We may have missed the easiest up smash that should have been an up smash, but we chose to go for forward smash the wrong way.
We're talking about
but that's okay. Mr. E is bringing it right back. We're still 2-2, and unfortunately, PkChris is climbing up the percentage a little bit faster than you really want to. Again, Mr. E falling victim to being turned literally the wrong way, tilting to the right instead of the left. You miss a tech, but you're able to come back, but there's a 4-3 back off stage, and there's a thunder in your way.
Yeah, man, I think the thing that PkChris is doing really honestly that he doesn't typically do, he's playing really grounded right now. It's honestly a really good way to face off against Mr. E. Mr. E is someone who commands the air a lot with forward air, with Nair, who, again, commanding the space as Lucina, which is something that Ness really struggles with to play. So he's staying on the ground, using a lot of that Ness up tilt. You don't see typically too much, but actually it's really good for hitting Mr. E from behind and then putting him off stage and putting him in a really weird position where, again, PK Thunder is coming in for a lot of these alley-oops.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going back into the scramble now in neutral. Chris at a great advantage at this point, right? We know Chris can absolutely steal a stock here. I love watching Chris play specifically off ledge because every time you think Chris is unsafe here, Chris has a nice way to get back up onto stage, right? So the angles specifically on the PK Thunder, the air dodges specifically, understanding how far you can drop before it's an SD. But Mr. E, of course, looking for just a way to get back into this. But I think, Ubel, what Chris is doing really well is matching E's pace and not letting E get really a combo going.
Yeah, it's been a lot of PkChris like instinctively playing at Mr. E's timing, and maybe it's not even instinctively. They played 103 sets. Like, it is awareness of this is how E likes to start every set. This is the tempo he likes to play at. So I'm going to match that tempo, but take initiative from him. And if you take initiative away from a floatier character like Lucina or like Sora, for instance, or Puff, all these other floaty characters, suddenly they're leaving themselves way more open than you originally expect them to be.
Yeah.
I do want to hammer a point home to something that we've been seeing all day from various sets of various blocks. Players have been playing very stubborn today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it is important for Mr. E to stay playing stubborn. Because if you do... Playing stubborn typically means you establish something and you're not sticking away from it. That can force PkChris to maybe overthink things, but it will inevitably force PkChris to change up how he's playing in order to better counterplay some of the options that E is going for. And that simple change is going to allow Mr. E to take initiative back from PkChris.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, FT, Mr. E's favorite stage for a good reason. Double Dolphin Slash, not going to get much value off it, but the parry up to instantly double up air will be doing wonders for Mr. E, especially as we get a quad up air right after another. Mr. E now silently in the hot seat here as PkChris is struggling to find some kind of opening. Yes, we get back movement off the ledge, and now we get PK Thunder as well as a forward throw to finish our finish our combo off. The Thunder getting negated, and then the get up attack is going to be thankfully avoiding that yo-yo, but the forward smash bonk of the bat is going to be enough to send Mr. E off into the Shadow Sphere.
I find it very ironic that actually these two are kind of swapped game plans at this point, where PkChris is actually the one demanding the neutral and holding down really well, and Mr. E is taking more of the aggressive foot forward. We saw immediately at the beginning of the game where he runs in with the Nair, putting a lot of damage to the quad up airs, like you said, and just trying to force PkChris off it, just recognizing a lot of the time that PkChris is sitting there demanding presence on the stage, where Lucina, you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, though, I just feel like Chris is so in the driver's seat. And honestly, I feel like he is still trying to figure out the play, but I like what you brought up a little bit earlier, Ubel. I think the players are just playing really stubborn today. And I think that's a good point because I feel like E is still playing really stubborn, trying to get what he wants, but Chris going to be able to find that back throw. And certainly at the ledge, that's going to be stopped.
I think what is so good about PkChris right now is he knows that Mr. E is trying to go. Ooh, that was almost a crazy sequence.
He is never dead. Like he really is never dead. He doesn't make a mistake off the ledge.
It's perfect placement on ledge, both in neutral, in various disadvantage and advantage states. Just like PkChris is playing with such an attuned awareness to the game state that Mr. E is having a hard time taking back any semblance of control that Lucina typically really thrives on. Like the anti-airs, the bat away with forward airs, the zoning with neutral air. Like Chris is just so aware of where he is at any given moment and just where the reach of all of his hitboxes are. Clean edge guard from Mr. E though, giving himself a chance in this game, and the grab it could send so much more.
There's another jumper coming through with the upper connection, but Nambi for anything, 23% on the side of PkChris. And Mr. E is forced to play a lot slower than expected, forced to go for more whip punishes than being the aggressor in most of these scenarios. We get a parry, but we also follow up with the Nair. Now, again, 130%, I think PkChris might be starting to get a little bit too overzealous. You see the forwards come out, you see the manual movement also being expended. And like I said, when PkChris starts to get a little more desperate for that kill, he starts to chip up his antics a little bit. But not gonna be for anything. That dash tag having a little mini pop off, but the dash tag having such a large hitbox that Mr. E was going to get hit by that last little circle, may I say, just because it's a really good move.
Oh yeah,
it's a good move.
Something honestly that this set's reminding me of right now is Web JP and Blast, actually, where the thing that Mr. E's getting tripped up by is the fact that he's like you're saying he should be playing stubborn. I think he's playing. The one thing that's kind of detracting is the fact that he's overcomplicating a lot of these punishes. Like, a lot of the time, Ness is running around throwing a lot of these hitboxes out, whether it's the back air, the forward air, the up tilts, right? If you're Lucina, ideally, you could just sit in shield and then punish with either an up B out of shield or just F tilt or something like an up tilt to get another damage. Mr. E's like, okay, I need to float back, I need to find Nair, I need to find something like this, I gotta get forward, I need to get him off stage. There's a lot of time, he's just overcomplicating this and he's struggling with it, and that's what PkChris is taking advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to Battlefield, though, so I think we now want our platforms, but the problem is that Chris has easy follow-ups with this stage in particular. So at this point, I'm very interested to see how he is going to be able to handle this, because I really just haven't seen this type of combo movement out of E practically all day. We've seen the one piece, right? But we need like these like very fluid, like 4 or 5 piece combos to really get us started here.
Yeah, the one piece is certainly real when it comes to Mr. E.
He did it! Yeah!
You're welcome, everybody.
Good job.
But
Henry.
it's this type of walling out gameplay that Mr. E wants to be playing right now. He wants to be playing just like, all right, the Ness comes in with something like a forward air or a back air, and then I hit him with a forward air, and we go back and we reset, and we just do that until I win. Like, that's not something that he's getting away with. Chris's spacing has become too good, playing around the rising nairs or the falling fairs, rising backers, and everything in between. We saw it at the end of game 2 with the space that Mr. E was holding. PkChris expertly played around it and found the disjoint to dash attack to win out the game. In this game number 3, he's finding auto counter down airs and mix-ups with the PSI magnet just to change his space ever so slightly to make sure that E is either backing off or committing further than playing around it. Don't miss this time.
He didn't miss, but I don't think up tilt was the punish there personally. Had he been a little more precise, I would have been more confident with the up smash. But still, I mean, as I say that, Mr. E has been virtually untouched in this second stock that he did recently get. Up tilt not going to be able to take it. Ness having a 196 on him right now. Chris is just doing a wonderful job surviving, but not a wonderful job at connecting anything. We connect the sword to the face, Mr. E taking PkChris to their second stock.
PkChris now, Mr. E finally taking a step back a little, finally playing a lot more grounded, saying, okay, PkChris is jumping a lot, and I have really good anti-airs to deal with that finally. And we're seeing him, he's throwing a lot of these backers from ledge. Mr. E's finally taking a step back a little bit and using these platforms actually really well, which is really interesting considering that we talked about earlier how he likes playing on FC so much. Now, utilizing these platforms, the main part of this game plan of finding most of this damage, of seeing PkChris get aggressive, jump the platform, and then Lucina up air hand, and then go from there.
I think the durability on Chris's stocks have been fantastic this entire game. Like, it's been like 2 minutes for that first stock to be gone off, but now Mr. E finally going to be able to find some footing here. But I have to call it out again, as I did earlier in the set. Chris can make it back from the blast zone at this point back onto this stage. I mean, we see the angles, just the pure control. I think a lot of the times, especially on a seasoned player like Mr. E, sometimes you can get crossed up like on the ledge and kind of fall. But Dolphin Slash actually going to bail Mr. E out here, stuck on the ledge once more. Finally going to be able to find that back throw, and definitely with a little bit of rage oogle, that's going to be stock. And now Chris on stock point to make it into winners finals.
Yeah. Instantly, PkChris is just able to keep up the pressure. A cross-up falling up air, going for it again to consistently make sure that E is guessing which side, is guessing which position he wants to be in. The phantom footstool to get out of danger and chopping away at Mr. E, wanting to play this like up air and up tilt juggle game. That's what the platforms that allow him to do. Like, the Mr. E may like FD for the space that he's allowed to control, but Battlefield, it might be the better stage overall for juggling, yet PkChris is able to adapt to both and make sure that Mr. E is always uncomfortable no matter where he is or what he's doing.
I'm getting anxious, sorry. This is New York versus New York, as you can imagine. So I am just sitting here with like bated breath. I'm at waypoint. Mentally, I'm at waypoint. Emotionally, I'm in shambles. Just like that. Mr. E completely in shambles after that. And PkChris not able to get the yo-yo at the very end of the day. And not even about to set it up, but we go for a force, and we even challenge it even more so. Mr. E going all the way, the distance. But will we be able to even take a game here?
Once he's max rage in this Ness, PkChris pushing the situation farther and farther, finally going to find that nair there. Bringing it to final stock with PkChris. Just a 1 or 2 hits away from bringing this all the way to a 3-0. He's playing patiently single on the ground, but still not going to find too much off of that.
Yeah, the air drift right now on Chris has been fantastic as well. And now it is all Mr. E. Can you take this rage to bring you to a game number 4 here? Beautiful nair placement here. And now Chris going to get 2 hits of the PK Thunder. All he really needs is 1 more hit to do it. And a second hit won't do it. But look at Chris trying to line up. Could be for the throw. The up tilt, though, going to get him grabbed at this point. And now Chris has to find safe landing. Beautiful falling forward air here. There's the Thunder. Not going to be able to find anything. So now he's going to be able to get the follow-up here. Looking for something, though. Dash attack ain't going to do it. The roll in was a little bit ambitious. And now Mr. E looking to get this finisher. But it will be the dash attack that keeps E alive. Only one more interaction. E has 174 versus Ness, and you know Chris is trying to catch a jump out with something here, looking for this back air, unable to find anything, but the parry into the nair is going to secure PkChris into winners finals. You owe PkChris an apology, Mont Neva.
104.
105.
105.
105 now, right? It wasn't 104 before?
What was it
That was
before?
103.
Oh, what was it?
That was just the set count in general, so that's like
Yeah.
104
Now
sets.
they're not. Now they're 104.
Can you imagine playing 100 sets with somebody in one game?
I know
Imagine
it's-
being up 40 sets and then you're playing on the line for $1,000 and then you get, yeah, that's
You got 3-0'd.
You know what's even better? Like, I have seen these guys fight each other so many times, as you can imagine. Every waypoint, most,
I'm
you
so
know,
sorry.
It's okay. I accept your apology.
Oh, that was funny. Oops.
And
Even 139.
Mr.
That's
E,
where it all went wrong, actually.
Yeah.
Right in that moment.
Mental shattered.
and Mr. E consistently has been the victor between him and PkChris a lot of times. But PkChris, I have to give him his flowers. He has been on an absolute tear this entire day. I believe going, 4-1 or 5-0 in his pool. And Mr. E going 4-1. So they were so evenly matched. And even though the scoreboard says 3-0, they were last stock scenarios, high percentages. Mr. E coming back and climbing from a incredible downfall
Yeah.
of percentage. So honestly, I'm very happy with how both of our New York players played this round.
Yeah, I was very happy to see Mr. E insist on the falling fairs, insist on the falling nairs. You know that these are the tools that are going to win you games, but PkChris just able to weave his way around so many of these options, play so strong when it came to just raw movement, to the point where last stock scenario he was cooking with these down air footstool setups, trying for reverse magnet back airs off of them. It's always insane to watch PkChris grow, and especially now, this is PkChris not only sure of his gameplay, sure of his skill level in the moment, but confident in every single decision he's making throughout a long, drawn-out set with a very, very proficient player. This is a PkChris that can't just win locals or win against good players. This is a PkChris that can win regionals.
Yeah.
1,000%. I mean, PkChris, and on an absolute tear. Very, very, very scary to see what he does. But regardless, we're going through this bracket. We're going to be taking a dip down to losers, I think.
Yeah, at this point, right, we drop down into that losers 8s. At this point, I don't have bracket up in my head. I'm so sorry.
I got bracket up here.
I would love to see. I know we have another match coming in losers, but I am so excited to see Allo Jackal. I am so beyond excited.
Allo Rivers.
Oh.